Hello, my beauty. So, and this week's been a particularly tough week. Had some bad news, which I'll go into at some point. But what I would like to talk about today is just all the chaos that's going on in the world, and how we can keep calm. Techniques and thoughts, I think, is the most powerful thing that you can do to keep calm in the chaos. So we are seeing around the world chaos, aren't we? There is war. There are the existing wars that don't get mentioned. There are, well, not by media, mainstream media anyway. There are the new wars that are mentioned by the media. We have the we have a real tower effect at the moment. Now, the tower in tarot is a symbolic of everything coming crashing down around you. Now, the tower is a massive transition, a transformational change. And that does sometimes mean with pain and suffering, and sometimes it can be pain or deconstruction on another level, which doesn't cause you pain. So we don't ever look at the tower and say, oh my God. We think about how it relates to what it's trying to explain or bring forward, highlight. And what we know is, I mean, there's plenty of disaster around the world. As I say, there's the wars. We've got, it's interestingly, the police federation chief has been arrested on, that's in the UK, on corruption. So here, this is what we need, is the taking down of corruption for a better world. We've got the Bank of England is really struggling. Of course, they don't mention it. It's not talked about, but the Bank of England are really on the precipice of falling. You've got the same for the US dollar. There is a Chinese bank that has collapsed. Obviously war in Iran and oil prices rising. It's interestingly a handful of the a handful of billionaires were named from the Epstein files. They were previously redacted. So completely unlawfully redacted, because the only redactions that should have taken place are redactions of information that lead to the identity of survivors or victims in this, or those that have reported crimes or abuse. Yeah, the US government illegally and willy-nilly redacted their friends' names to keep them safe and protected them, and actually allowed some of the details, even pictures, even photographs, to be unredacted and released. So they clearly had their priorities wrong on that, and they've been, you know, very transparent on their motive, you know, on who they are indeed trying to protect there. So we've got, I mean, it's bizarre. Hollywood actors and Hollywood singers are, their faces are changing by the day, to the point where we think, well, that person looks slightly like that person, or that person, that actor that we know. But the reality is that, you know, there's sometimes these dramatic changes. Now, I think the most recent one was the Jim Carrey one, because Jim Carrey's recently been put forward as someone who we now recall, we're remembering about his outbursts that he was making some time ago, and the accusations of the satanic cults in Hollywood and all of that. So it seems to me that the antidote would be, I know, let's just throw someone out who does in fact look, I mean, remember, we have many skilled plastic surgeons and people out there now that can dramatically alter how you look. And if they wish to, they can produce a clone. Or obviously there is this technology that's been kept under wraps of cloning. Dolly the sheep was revealed in 1985, 1980 something. But in fact, there is evidence to suggest that cloning has been in place since the 1940s. And a lot of these structures that are currently in place are do actually relate back to that period of time after the Second World War, where the brilliant minds within the German government were taken from their positions and put into serving positions in America. For obvious reasons, their insight, their research and their skills were being utilised rather than shutting it down. They continued to develop it. So from that, you have, as I say, there is evidence of these cloning. So although we think, oh, clones, is everyone gone crazy? There is evidence out there if you want to look for it, and please do, because obviously my fragmented explanations are not anywhere near evidence. They're simply my understandings and musings. But yeah, so there is evidence out there. We call it going down the rabbit hole, don't we? And that's a matter for you. And if you are too worried about catching your next train, or, you know, getting the kids lunch, or whatever that might be, then that sounds like a deep commitment, which it probably is. But there we are. You can take my word for it. There is evidence out there. There are testimonies out there. People who have been involved in cloning laboratories and have seen processes. So that seems like a really, really handy little trick, isn't it? That if we then start looking back, hang on a minute, didn't this actor say something about this? Yeah, this isn't, you know, didn't he must have, you know, a deeper knowledge of it. Didn't he suggest something like this? And then it's like, crikey, they've remembered he was trying to spill the beans. We all said he was crackers. So let's just put out someone who is appearing to be part of our cult, clan, whatever you want to call it. So that that can be, you know, sort of fudged and discredited. Anyway, so remember that all these things as well, whilst we're all studying Jim Carrey's face, we are in those minutes, we're not thinking about continuing to reveal or disclose information that are wrapped up in the Epstein files, so the E-files, as I usually say. But so it's a distraction, isn't it? War is anything can be a distraction. And just as we're getting down to the final third, whereby undoubtedly Trump's name will be little black lines everywhere, then he's like, I know, I will distract everybody by just sending off a few missiles to Iran. Of course, the war machine, they delight in that, because there are arms dealers who will sell to both sides and enjoy the uptake in their product, make millions and billions of money from weaponry used in war. And when you boil it down, most of the time, I mean, America has been really sucked in. Well, and so is the UK. I mean, the West in general have been very sucked into this narrative of we're defending ourselves. We could all be speaking German by now. We're defending ourselves. And things have dramatically changed with war since the 1940s. The 1940s, we're still understanding the First and Second World War as the narrative that we are fed. Like, you know, small things come out, and enough of a passage of time has passed so that we can get a bit more of the truth. But I would suggest that it is really since that period that a big change in war and why we go to war. I mean, you've only got to look at the Gulf War, where the suggestion was weapons of mass destruction. The law, the paper of the legal advice by Lord Goldsmith, written at that time. You know, it's like anything. If you say to a scientist, I really need my case to prove this, and I will pay you £5,000 if you can write a report that says this. Everybody is human, and unfortunately, it's a material world out there. And so many scientists I've seen. I've sat in a courtroom and I have seen a scientist come in for one party and say, absolutely not, nothing here. And then they go, okay, now we're going to call the other side. Their scientist will come in. He's been paid £5,000 to write a report to say the opposite. And there he does, he says it. And so there we are, two different angles that say completely different things. And, you know, they're both seemingly eminent scientists and with reputations, good reputations. The reality is that they're coming in at an angle. We are all coming in at an angle. We're all perceiving life at an angle. And we are all swayed at some point in our lives by something that is going to be favourable for us. And there we have the basis of keeping calm in chaos, because of course that's what it's all about, is looking at every chaotic situation and trying to see how it will give us a movement forward, a positive to come out of it. And we've known for many, however long it's taken, I imagine, since the beginning of time, because beginning of time, that's when weather, we've always had the weather, that phrase, every cloud has a silver lining, because out of every negative situation, there will be a positive. And that's where we go to the positive that this chaos brings. Remember the tower. The tower has to come down. It has to, the structure that are in place that are not serving the people, that are negative, that are badly built in order to represent the 1%, the pyramid, remember. That tower has to come down in order for the rotten bricks and the debris to be cleared away and a new positive structure that will serve the people can be built on. So it appears as well that the current towers that are falling are centered around the Middle East. So what I want to say to you is, when you were hearing all this scaremonger about war, and I'm not suggesting scaremongering as in it never happened, because clearly it is happening, but when you were hearing all those sort of sirens of war and how it's going to damage us and how it's going to change everything and how we're all at risk and how it's a major threat to our existence. If you're in the West, obviously we don't know what's going to happen coming forward, but let's just talk about what we know now, because that's the only thing we know for sure. Did you envisage your life to alter in the way that you are now perceiving it due to this war in the Middle East? Or did you envisage something a lot darker? So that's really my point, is that we always go to worst case scenario. When we are in fear, we are irrational and we move into a space of worst case scenario. But that's not always a bad thing, as long as you move through worst case scenarios. So what we would suggest would be is a war's breaking out. Oh my God, I'm going to be blown to pieces. Well, if you're spiritual and you've lived your life unlike the 1%, you will have very generous, positive moments in your life. You will have maybe some selfish points in your life, but there will be a balance. And as long as you are balanced in your life, in your in the way you conduct your life, then you will be able to cross over and still maintain that balance. And that is essential for then moving towards the light. Now, if you are always dark, always angry, always living in those negative ego responses, and you pass over, you are going to be less likely to be able to move out of that. You're going to be scared. You're going to be like, right, well, I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to disappear. Didn't really know what was going to happen. And now I'm in a black cloud and it's all very dark. There's nothing here. And oh my God, I'm a little bit scared here. And if you've always not exercised that ability to think, well, hang on a minute. Now, there was talk about a light sometimes that comes towards you, and then straight away, oh, wonder if the light's there for me. Right, so you've thought positively, there comes the light, comes, picks you up, takes you to your welcome party, your welcome home party. Marvellous time, and you realise, oh, nothing to worry about in the end. Whereas obviously if you always default to the dark, always assume the darkness, stay within those negative ego responses, that is when those spirits, those people that leave their bodies, then are unable to lift themselves out of that dark space. And that's where I imagine people would call hell. It's their own living hell. It's their own sense of darkness, their inability to look on the bright side, look for the light. And then of course down there you've got your other energies that are coming, beings, accumulative dark energy, that are all, it all sticks to you around there. If you're always dark, if you're always down there in that negative space, then all this negative energy will stick to you, because it's like, oh, look, misery loves company. And that's when you will endure more of the same, more beings that are unable to look on the bright side. Sorry about that. I think that's my water features struggling to suck up some water, so it's making a bit of a growling sound. Okay, so yeah, so as I say, we are experiencing that negativity in the Middle East, but also remember that these souls have agreed to leave Earth at this time. Remember, we all have our opportunity to make our own choices on when we come into the world and when we leave the world. And so therefore these we don't need to feel sad for them. We feel sad for ourselves. We feel sad that we're left. We feel sad that we're going to have to continue living without our people, without their light, without their love, without their physicality. And so that transitioning is really only ever about those that are left, because those that are moving on, one, that's the time they've decided to do it, and two, I mean, they're going to have a ball. They've got a massive, massive party with all the people that they love and care about that are going to receive them. And they're going to be filled with love. They're going to be filled with hope. They're going to be filled with all that beautiful, angelic and ascending emotion that they that is inherent in that realm. And so they're going to have that time, and it's going to be a ball. They're going to love it, so they have agreed to cross over at that time. So we look at, oh my God, they're terrible, those children, all the babies. It's not really the passing that's the problem in these wars, in these instances. Of course, suffering while alive, that is a very, very heavy energy. But remember, if we come down to experience suffering, it's going to give us growth to our souls. So there is always a benefit from it. We choose our lives, we choose our path. We do have we have our discretion. Yeah, obviously there are choices that we have our discretion at. We can make choices on the go, on the job choices. on the job description. But generally, you know, the main events of our life, we have, you know, chosen carefully our parents, our country to be born into, our towns to be born into. We have made agreements with other souls to come across, to have relationships with, to meet up with, for them to provide that service to us. I'll bring this challenge, and then that will help you in this way. You know, remember, Earth is a masterclass. And what I would say is that this situation we're in, we are in a very, very powerful tower moment. But what makes way, in one sense, you have to clear a way and clear a space. And everything dark, everything that is negative, everything that is not serving the people is being broken down. Remember, the banking systems, the political systems. There are many who have chosen to opt out of the world from 2026. So those who have chosen to opt in to continue through 2026, 27 and beyond know that this is they know before they are coming down, and then it is time to work on remembering that within your soul. But we know that we were coming in this time, and we are going to get our own awakenings at different times. This will help us, you know, it's a staggered ascension and a staggered development, because that's the best way things can be bedded in, a gradual bedding in of all of this stuff. And remember, if you are suddenly on the scene and you are starting to ascend and you are suddenly realizing, you're suddenly waking up, it's a very powerful moment to then look back on old teachers that have been saying it for a long time. So we can switch it on and we can say, oh my God, yes, she's saying exactly what I'm thinking. Yes, this is happening. Yes, that's happening. But isn't it more, I don't know, more, less, I don't know. It is very powerful to switch on and see somebody who has been talking about this for decades. I mean, David Icke is a name that comes up, that everyone suggested he was crackers and he was mocked. But when you actually go back and listen to his Terry Wogan, I love Terry Wogan, but I mean, who knows if he was a dark soul or not? Who knows? I don't know. I don't think anyone knows until they know that person. Although I haven't heard any evidence that he was a dark soul, but he did mock David Icke, and it hit the headlines, and he was totally ridiculed. And now we're going in and we're listening to those interviews 30 years ago, something like that. And it's astonishing how much he knew back then that we have now learnt for ourselves. I mean, back then I was, I think, a teenager, possibly in my 20s. I was probably just gone into my 20s in that time, not 100% sure. But we're now hearing him for the first time with open eyes. Now, the dark forces were uneasy with his wisdom then, and they're uneasy with his wisdom now. The difference is he has got more backup now. So he has, you know, there's a massive burst of podcasters and truth seekers that are inviting him in and asking him to just talk about what he knows, which is, you know, a lifetime's work. And all of this positive energy, all of this you know, is ascension frequency, is making the dark forces incredibly uncomfortable, incredibly nervous. They're panicking. They're throwing things left, right, and centre. Hence the Jim Carrey thing. You know, they would have just laughed about that, and you know, just look, or just put out, what they call them, conspiracy theorists. Look at these conspiracy theorists, aren't they crackers? And there was enough conditioning, enough sort of mental control, thought control over the population to silence any conspiracy crackers, nuts, crazy, bonkers conspiracy theorists. But now they're gathering momentum, and they are gaining, they're buddying up, and they are, and that frequency is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And interestingly, both Casey, is it Gacy? Not Gacy, that's John Wayne Gacy. Not him. There's an American. See, I'm useless, aren't I? There's an American prophet, and then you've got the prophet from the 1500s, Nostradamus, and they both prophesized a time when the consciousness would rise out of chaos. The chaos would produce a turning point, the tower moment. The consciousness would grow. We wouldn't be believing what we were hearing unless we, you know, felt deep down in our souls that that was correct. The consciousness was growing, coming together, forming, and instead of universities and academics putting together the knowledge and feeding it out in a very controlled way, it's through YouTube, it's through social media, it's through Twitter, it's through X, it's through TikTok, that these messages are coming from you, from me, from people who are living this ascension. We are living this ascension through our experiences. We are learning through our experiences. We're learning through our adversities. We're learning through our bad news that came in this week. Everything that is happening is growing within us and is producing knowledge and producing an authority on life. So here we are. We need, I'm an alien, I'm coming down, I want to learn about life. Basil. I want to learn about life. I want to learn interactions and everything. I want to learn, I want it all. I want to know, what is Earth life like? And I go to a university, and I ask a professor who is academic right up there, and I ask him, what's it like to be a father? What's it like to have a family? Now, this academic has been single all his life. He has devoted his entire life to academia. He hasn't had a relationship since his mother died in 1969. He's never loved and lost. He's never raised a child. He's never gotten someone pregnant, or learnt that he'd got someone pregnant and discussed it. How on earth can he be any kind of authority? But that's how that's what we're at the moment, is, you know, we take our information from academics, and they are the be all and the end all, the people that know everything about the pyramids, and they are the authority, and no one else is an authority. And if you try go in there with your like queer experiments, no, that will be invalid, because it's not how we do things. We have to do experiments in this way, and that's all there is to it. Yeah, it's changing. It's changing. We are now looking to our fellow people, our fellow souls, to share their experiences, to tell us what they've learned, what, you know, that, well, this is what I'm hearing. Not 100% sure if it's correct. If you want to know 100% if this is correct or not, get yourself down that rabbit hole. But if you're not, and you are content for it to be a possibility that you are going to listen to and ruminate on and think about and think, does that make sense on? We're all free to do that. We are all free to put our points of view across. So we now, and as I say, that American guy, American prophet, sorry about that, I can't remember his name, something like Casey or something. So you're all shouting, going, it's this, you silly woman. But yeah, and the Nostradamus prophet, that is was a clear prophecy that they said, out of this adversity we will find a coming together of consciousness, and we will look to our fellow people who have experienced this through their lives. We have a massive movement of survivors that are talking about their stories, which is the depressing, the distressing, the darker side, the darker stories, but then they are using what they have learned through that adversity to raise people up, to make people, to raise their consciousness, to look for truth, to look for the truth within themselves, their hearts and their souls. So there's lots to be positive for. There's lots to be grateful for. And there are lots of ways that we can raise our frequency when we are surrounded by chaos. So another reason, another way of achieving ascension in a time of chaos is something I want to share with you, how I do that. Now, what I have found, like whether it's your guides, whether it's your higher self, whether it is a family member that's passed over, whether it's God, whether it's one of the ascendant masters, whoever it is that you feel that you connect with. And if you don't know, you can do this to find out who it is. If you find a quick, simple way of connecting with that consciousness that guides you, helps you, makes you see things clearly, connects you back to source, then there's nothing you can't really survive mentally. You could be in a very, very dark situation, but if you have that ability to connect to source, you will find yourself taken out of that situation. And I'm going to do that for you, but I have to pause right now. So just one moment. Okay, cat food delivery. If I'd known that, I wouldn't have paused. But there we are. So I find myself, and I mean, the more you practice it, it's like a muscle. It gets bigger and bigger and stronger and stronger. But I have two 10-year-olds and they're pretty noisy. And if they're not making more noises out of their mouths or hands or clattering about, then they have their devices, their TVs, whatever it is that they are blaring out. So finding silence is incredibly challenging for me whilst they're around. And that's usually when the chaos is really striking Mrs. Randall Gray. So what I do is I have to transcend that noise, and it is difficult. Don't get me wrong, it's difficult. But if you're in the position where you can find a bit of peace and quiet, you can find that quietness, you can find a bit of serenity in order to do this, then that's fabulous. So I sit quiet, I take a deep breath. Now, I'm going to suggest a stage that you do to keep you safe. It's not something I do because I don't know why, but they just can't get in, these negos. Negos cannot get in. They get into my life on the earth plane, but the nego, the negative spirit energy, they just cannot get in, which I'm grateful for. But I don't know, everybody's different, so you know, you all have that ability to have them come in. So it's really important that you do this stage, although it's not a stage that I do complete. So you just sit, you take a deep breath in and a deep breath out and release. You drop your shoulders, you put your feet on the ground, and you imagine a hoop of protection coming up from the earth over your feet, over your ankles, over your calves, over your knees, over your thighs, over your hips, over your tummy, over your chest, over your arms and your shoulders. And you imagine it sitting, spinning and closing off. That is your hoop of protection. Then you take another deep breath in and a deep breath out. And you imagine your crown chakra opening up, and not just like a little, you know, hula hoop. I'm talking like, well, I mean like potato hula hoop. I'm talking a grapefruit sized hoop. Your chakra, your crown chakra has opened up to a halo sized hoop. And once that's done, the telephone line is open between your higher self, your guides, your ancestors, whoever it is will be able to come in and talk to you and to you don't even need to ask anything. But sometimes I go, give me some strength, give me some strength, help me breathe, help me find peace, help me keep calm, help me get rid of those negative feelings, help me ascend. Or what do I need to know to ascend? What do I need to know to banish this anxiety? What do I need to know to help me today? What do I need to know to help me today? What do I need to know to keep balanced? How can I achieve balance, please, today? And then just listen, and whatever comes in, whatever it is that comes in, trust it. When you feel that you have got your answer, then your halo-sized chakra can close back off. That's not a stage I ever need to do. It just switches off. It's just like, like a portal, starts off like, and then it goes boom, as soon as I just, you know, decide, right, okay, thanks. And it just shrinks. But you would be best to imagine that that portal closes, that chakra closes, and then you can untwist your hoop of protection and allow it to fall back down. So that is and give it a go, because it's really, really good at settling anxiety, because you can tap in. Sometimes you get these little sort of wiggles of energy and feelings of sort of, you know, that positivity. You can feel the positivity being connections. So that's a little technique I have, and I right now doing it a lot. I'm doing it a lot. I'm connecting with my higher self quite regularly at the moment because I need to. So another thing, really, really great. I mean, this is besides meditation. Obviously, meditation goes without saying. It's a really good way to connect with your higher self, to connect with the light, to connect to source, and allow whatever comes in at that time to free flow. Feelings of fear, any feelings of fear that pop in, you know, remember, can I please have some help dealing with these feelings of fear? And take your mind to your favourite place. Now, my favourite place is a beach. I absolutely love the beach. Not mad on water, weirdly. I'm not mad. I love to look at water. I love to be close to water. I love to hear water. My water feature tickling away over there. I love water, and water is a great amplifier of your feelings. So when you go to a beach and you sit down, whether it's on a towel, on a sunbed, whatever it is, and you sit down and you relax, and that energy from the water floods over you and makes that relax so much more intense. Energy is an amplifier. Water is an energy amplifier. So I take myself to the beach, and I imagine the beach. I imagine the warmth of the sand. I imagine the sand in between my feet. I imagine getting up, taking a slow walk down to the water's edge. I allow myself to imagine the cool water, because I'm not mad if it's freezing, but the cool water just to touch my toes. And I imagine the sounds of the beach, the lapping of the shore, the birds flying. If you're realistic, you might hear an aeroplane slowly, like quietly humming in the background, whatever it is. But that's where I take myself. So if you think where do I feel most alive? That's where you can take yourself, and that is as good. We've proved that. I say we've proved it. Scientists have proved that imagining lifting weights develops the muscles as much as actually lifting weights. So imagining yourself in your favourite place can be as calming and uplifting as being in your favourite place. What also I just want to finish on is the point about how we find ourselves constantly thinking, I just can't, it's all chaos and I can't. Make a change. Make a change. If you find yourself in a chaotic situation, and you think, how am I back here? If you find yourself in an anxiety-driven state, acknowledge it. I'm back here in this anxiety. Oops, whoops. Don't give yourself a hard time. Don't feel guilt. Don't give yourself a telling off. Just go, oh, I'm back in. Acknowledge it. I'm back in anxiety. Okay, right. So what do I know? How do I know how to get back out of this? And you bring forward all your techniques to bring yourself out of that anxiety. Breathing is so important in anxiety. But the important thing is if you find yourself in a loop, in life, in a relationship, in a work situation, in I keep getting on the wrong train situation, I keep getting on the wrong bus situation, I keep forgetting that I've moved situation, whatever it is, it's a really good phrase to remember. If you do what you did, you'll get what you got. So make a change, because if you keep, I think was it Albert Einstein, someone like that. Some scientist said the definition of madness is to continue doing the same. I mean, this isn't verbatim, but to continue doing the same thing and expect a different result. So if you do what you did, you'll get what you got. So you need to make a change in order to get a different outcome. And that is really helpful for repeating patterns, which is something I did touch on before, I think in episode 1. So to dig a bit deeper into repeating patterns, you can go back, and there's plenty more to be said, but I did touch on that, and I think there might be something helpful for you in that episode. So just a quickie, let's have a card for the collective. Now this set is called, I don't know if you've seen them, they seem to be quite new. And they are, who are they? They are, this is the Priestess Oracle. Earth Moon Magic publishers. These are stunning. They're absolutely beautiful. I absolutely love them. And then let's see, box there, and you get a little gold edged cards here and white. Now they're Egyptian based, ancient Egyptian based. And I'm not going to read the whole lot because it's quite a lengthy thing. But I will give you the general flavour of what the card is saying. And there's also this card, which I absolutely love. Can you see that? It says, "May I be blessed by my own grace today." And that's absolutely lovely, isn't it? Because yes, we all have that divine grace within us. And that's what I'm going to call in a chaotic time. Call in my divine grace. So here we are. Card for the collective. And I'm going to pull one now. Oh my goodness. This is so good. Okay, so this is Sun. So we have pure joy, pranic life force, highest light. What a gorgeous card. Look at that. So beautiful. I love it. So beautiful. And sun is I just love the colours of the sunsets. I love the colours of the sun. Now, what that is, again, saying is just tap into light. Tap into light. Tap into your highest frequency. Tap into what makes you feel good. What makes you feel connected to the divine, what makes you feel calm, what makes you feel settled. Sorry, I'm just trying to find it. What makes you feel love? What makes you connect with love? What makes you put love out? Connect with the sun energy, because the sun is an amazing force that brings light, warmth, and can't find it, where is it? Light, warmth and knowledge. So, but I can't find it. Where's it gone? Where is it? Sun, come on. Yeah, it should be here. And the sun, I mean, this is a specific set of, I would suggest, Priestess Oracle is about connecting with your higher self, life purpose. Here it is, amazing. And divine, just the most pure and holy connection to the divine. But the sun is in most tarot. Well, it's in all tarot, proper tarot. And these are oracle cards, they're not tarot. So the sun, and it always means the same thing. It always means divine light, joy, childlike enthusiasm and peak experience of life. So this is saying sun, pure joy, pranic life force, highest light. This card streams through like a sudden ray of sunlight, breaking through the storm clouds, reminding you that even in your most challenging moments, warmth and light are always present. When was the last time you moved your face towards the sun? Not very often if you live in the UK. Feeling its gentle caress on your skin. When did you last allow yourself to bask in simple joy, free from the weight of responsibilities and spiritual seeking? And that's a really important point, because we can overload on spiritual seeking. We can overload on, I must always look for ascension. I must always be developing spiritually. I must always. And that's impossible. We're human and it's an impossible thing to do. So therefore, remember that you are human and you can take a day off. Take a day off. And that's another important point for keeping calm in chaos. Take a day off worrying. Take a day off trying to work out your life. Take a day off trying to resolve every issue. Take a day off from a relationship. If a relationship's heavy, take a day off. Tell them to take a day off. I regularly use that. Take a day off, love. Take a day off. Especially if someone's rude in the street. I'm like, go home, have a glass of wine, or just take a day off. Maybe that's triggering them, I don't know, but it's what comes to my mind. So anyway, take a day off and bask in the sun, okay? So have a good week. I love you unconditionally.